So you want to learn how to code radio communication using your microbit? You know what to do. So, radio communication is a form of communicating that makes use of radio waves. This is used in so many devices all around us, and it's absolutely great to have a conversation with your kids and just discuss the different ways that communication has evolved over time. We had smoke signals at some point. We have cell phones where we're sending texts, we send emails as well, we get information via the television. So many modes to get our communication. And so, before we get into it, I want the kids to understand the concept of a transmitter and a receiver. The transmitter being the one that sends the information and the receiver being the one that receives it. And of course, you know we are going to do this using a game. I divided this class into teams. So teams of 4 pupils, where in those same teams they needed to divide themselves between the transmitters and the receivers. I had all my transmitters stand on one side of the classroom, and what they needed to do, I gave them each a picture that was just a simple drawing. And their job was to communicate to their other team members what to draw. But the catch was they were not allowed to use words. They could only use actions, which was so hilarious to witness. And afterwards we had a discussion and I asked them, what was difficult about what you just did? And a lot of them said, well, because I couldn't communicate, that was really tricky. And so then I started explaining to them, well, with radio communication, we have transmitters, the people who are responsible for sending out the message, and then the receivers, the people who are responsible for receiving it. So in a device, you have what sends the information and then what receives it. Now that they understand the concept of radio communication, we are able to get on to MakeCode platform and get to coding. So of course, I'm going to make a new project. I'm gonna call it Radio Communication and get on with it. So the very first thing you want to establish before you start using radio communication is that you have that line of focus, that your transmitter and your receiver are linked. And so that is where our radio codes come in, and we have to, on start, set our radio set group to the number that we're communicating with. So in these teams, I gave them specific numbers. So the one team was group 1, the other team was group 2, and so on and so forth. So for when we were coding, I told them to only use that number. That meant that when we were testing this out on the microbit, that their microbit would send a message to the only other microbit that is connected to the same group as them. So now that I've established that my line of communication is for group 1, we can go on with our communication. So from here, I want to use my buttons to be able to send the message. So I'm going to choose the on button A pressed. After selecting my on button A pressed, I'm going to go to my radio and I'm going to say, when button A pressed, the radio must send the string, and I can send the word hello. So I've put capital H and the rest is small letters ELLO. I'll do the same for button B, but for button B, instead of sending the string hello, I will make it send the string bye, capital B and small letters Y. Okay, so I've established that when I press button A and when I press button B, a certain signal is going to be sent. Now I want to interpret what that signal means. So I am now going to go back to my radio codes and I'm going to choose for the received options. I'll say on radio received and it receives the string, then something will happen. And again, we want logic to take place here. So I'm going to go ahead and choose for my conditionals the if true. And I'm going to select the comparison diamond, which has if inverted commas equals inverted commas. This is a little bit of a tricky one, but stay with me, it's not that hard. So once I've put if inverted commas equals inverted commas, I'm going to select this little circle that says received string from the on radio receipt. All you're going to do is go there with your mouse and sort of click it and drag it to the first inverted commas circle so that it goes in there. And then I'm going to type in the word exactly like I did for the on button A. So if my H was a capital in button A, it must be a capital here when I'm writing, because you need to send the exact same signal. Right. So if the receive string equals hello, then I want my microbit to show the word hello, and you can just retype the word there, hello. Then I'm going to go ahead and add an else if so that I can duplicate this diamond once more, so that I can do the same for the word bye. So when the signal's been received that says bye, then I wanted to show the string bye. And then else, if nothing's been pressed or anything, then I don't want anything to show on my screen. And that is the very basic of a radio communication. Can you believe it's that easy? From here, we were able to play a game with Morse code, and the kids had to now define for button A, it meant it was the dash, and button B meant it was a dot. And the kids got a sheet with all the Morse code alphabet, and now they needed to decipher a message. So majority of the lesson, they were now sending Morse code back and forth, and it's an excellent way to teach about the history of Morse code. Why was it necessary? Can you imagine what it was like living in that time? The pressure to be able to decipher a message quite quickly must have been really, really hectic. But then have them try to communicate with each other using this. I hope this video was easy enough for you to follow, and I really hope that you enjoyed it. Happy coding!